Back in 2015, between the 1st and 13th of February, Joel, along with 8 male and female colleagues, had to travel for official duties to Nakhon Phanom and Mukdahan provinces. According to their travel plan, they were to work in Nakhon Phanom on the 11th and then travel to Mukdahan to continue their work on the 12th and 13th. After completing their tasks in Nakhon Phanom, they proceeded to Mukdahan. It was almost 6 p.m. on the 11th when Joel's team arrived at a hotel in the city center of Mukdahan, which their workplace had arranged for them. Joel mentioned that the hotel was a tall building about 10 stories high. The interior of the hotel looked nice and elegant, and at the back of the hotel there was a view of a local park which provided a relaxing atmosphere. After Joel and his group completed the check-in process, the staff placed the keys to all 8 rooms on the counter for them to choose at their leisure. Joel was the first to pick a key, and for some inexplicable reason, he chose room 609. Turning to his friends, he remarked that he chose room 609 because he liked the number. Afterwards, Joel and his friends took their luggage up to their respective rooms before coming back down to find something to eat. Following dinner, Joel's team dispersed to rest. While Joel was taking a shower, he felt uneasy about the reflection in the mirror. This mirror was a large one mounted above the sink. At that moment, Joel was standing in the bathtub, which was on the left if facing the mirror, with the bathroom door on the right. As he showered, his unease grew. He tried to rationalize his feelings, wondering if it was just due to the unfamiliar surroundings. He also tried to avoid looking at the mirror to suppress his fear. After finishing his shower, he filled the tub with warm water, planning to relax with a soak before going to bed. While waiting for the tub to fill, Joel wrapped himself in a towel and sat down to watch the news on TV. He watched for a while, but then he heard a strange noise coming from the bathroom. It sounded like someone splashing water with their hands. The noise didn't last long and soon stopped. Curious, Joel decided to get up and check the bathroom. When he entered the bathroom, nothing seemed out of the ordinary at first. However, when he glanced at the surface of the water in the bathtub, he was shocked. The water was rippling as if someone had just gotten out of the tub. Joel stood there, stunned by what he saw. After a moment, he decided not to think too much about it. He chose not to soak in the tub, and instead decided to get dressed and go to bed. Before sleeping, Joel followed his usual routine of praying and paying respects, just as he did every day. He also dedicated merits to his deceased relatives, teachers, karmic creditors, spirits, ghosts, pretas, demons, wandering souls, or any spirits residing in the room or elsewhere in the hotel. After that, Joel turned off the lights and went to sleep. That night, despite being exhausted, Joel was restless, feeling like something was disturbing his sleep. Suddenly, he woke up with a start as all the lights in the room turned on simultaneously. Joel was certain he had turned off all the lights before going to bed. Groggy and confused, he sat up, thinking it was already morning. However, when he reached for his phone to check the time, he saw it was only 2:59 a.m. His first thought was that someone might have broken into the room to steal something. He went to check the door, but it was securely locked with no signs of tampering. All his belongings were still there. His second thought was that the previous guest might have set an alarm to turn on all the lights at a specific time. Joel went to check the console by the bedside, but he couldn't find any buttons or switches for setting such a timer. At that moment, Joel wasn't thinking about ghosts or spirits at all. Eventually, his exhaustion took over, and he went back to sleep. The next morning, while having breakfast together, Joel shared the strange events of the night with his friends. Everyone concluded that Joel must have tossed and turned in his sleep and accidentally hit the light switch. However, Joel thought this was highly unlikely because the light control console was too far from his bed to reach accidentally. The room he stayed in had twin beds, and the light control console was positioned between the two beds, out of arm's reach. Joel suspected that the previous guest might have set a timer to turn the lights on and off, even though he hadn't found the button for it yet. He told his friends that if all the lights turned on again at the same time that night, it would confirm his hypothesis. After breakfast, Joel and his team went about their work until the evening. After dinner, they returned to the hotel. On the second night, while Joel was showering and glancing at the mirror in the bathroom, he still felt uneasy. For a moment, he had the sensation that he wasn't alone in the room, but he tried to dismiss any thoughts of ghosts or spirits. After finishing his shower, Joel sat down to watch TV, prayed, and then turned off the lights to go to bed as usual. However, just like the previous night, he felt restless and had trouble sleeping. He was startled awake again when all the lights in the room suddenly turned on simultaneously. The first thing Joel did was grab his phone to check the time. It was 1:55 a.m., which was different from the time the lights had turned on the night before. This discrepancy ruled out his hypothesis about a timer being set for the lights. Thoughts of ghosts began to creep back into his mind, and he felt a chill run through his body. As he sat on the bed in confusion, he suddenly heard the sound of water splashing coming from the bathroom. Determined to find out what was happening, Joel decided to leave the bed and investigate. He felt certain that if he opened the bathroom door, he would encounter something out of the ordinary. With his heart pounding, he walked towards the bathroom, each step filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. When Joel reached the bathroom door, he held his breath, turned on the light, and immediately pushed the door open. The sight before him froze him in place. The first thing he should see upon opening the bathroom door was the bathtub. But at that moment, the bathtub, which was filled with water because Joel had left the water running the night before, contained a strange object floating in it. The object resembled a woman's head, floating face down. Her hair was spread out on the water's surface. The most terrifying part was that Joel couldn't see the woman's body. He only saw her head drifting on the water. As Joel stood shocked at the bathroom door, bubbles began to rise on the water's surface, as if the woman's head was exhaling. What horrified Joel even more was that when he looked away from the tub and glanced at the mirror, he saw a woman standing in the reflection, smiling at him. Her face was so pale it had a purple hue, and her eyes were bloodshot, as if filled with blood. The woman was dressed like she was ready to go to a nightclub, standing there in the mirror, smiling at Joel without moving. At that moment, there was no need for a scientific explanation for what happened to Joel. Once he regained his composure, he quickly opened the door and ran as fast as he could to his friend's room. He knocked on the door and immediately told his friend about the terrifying events. As time passed and it reached around 6 a.m., the sunlight began to replace the darkness. Joel's friend accompanied him back to his room to retrieve his belongings. Joel and his friend hurriedly packed up his personal items and then went down to the hotel restaurant to wait for their other friends. When everyone gathered for breakfast, Joel recounted the terrifying experience from the second night. His story shocked everyone. One of the female members of their group quickly pulled out her phone to search for more information. She gasped in shock and showed her phone to the others. When Joel saw the information on the phone, he was speechless. He passed the phone around to his friends, and the search results indicated that there had been a murder in the room where Joel had stayed. The group continued to search for more information and learned a lot about the incident. After finishing their breakfast and before checking out of the hotel to return home, Joel asked the front desk staff about the murder case that had taken place in the room. In the beginning, the hotel staff tried to dismiss Joel's concerns, claiming it was just a rumor about another hotel. However, when Joel recounted his harrowing experience, the staff admitted that there had indeed been a murder in room 609. Despite this, the hotel continued to accommodate guests in that room. Over the years, many guests, both Thai and international, had stayed in room 609 but had requested to change rooms in the middle of the night due to being disturbed by spirits and unable to sleep. After this incident, Joel reflected on what had happened. He thought it might be related to his spiritual practices following the deaths of his parents in 1970. Since then, he had been regularly chanting prayers, making merit, offering food to monks, and dedicating the merits to his parents, relatives, teachers, as well as any spirits and karmic creditors. This continuous practice might have led the deceased spirit to want to communicate or influence Joel to choose room 609, hoping that he could help by dedicating merits to it. Before heading back, Joel and his group asked their driver to stop at a temple in the province. There, they made merit by offering items to the monks. They all prayed and dedicated the merits to the spirit of the deceased, hoping to bring peace to the soul lingering in room 609 of the hotel where the incident had occurred. The eerie story didn't end there. In the evening, before their flight back, Joel received a call from his girlfriend. She asked if he had brought someone to stay with him at the hotel the previous night. At that moment, Joel hadn't yet told her about what happened in room 609. He denied bringing anyone to stay with him and asked why she was asking. His girlfriend then explained that she had dreamt of a beautiful woman standing at the foot of Joel's bed, who turned to smile and say, "Thank you." This prompted his girlfriend to ask him about it, and that's the end of the story. But for those listeners who are curious about the history of room 609, I'll tell you a little more. The murder that occurred in this hotel is considered a nationally notorious case in Thailand. The perpetrator, known as Kit the Ripper, is a serial killer who used methods such as strangling, drowning, and throttling his victims. In 2005, he committed 5 murders and was arrested in the same year. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment for all 5 cases. However, he continuously received sentence reductions due to good behavior and was eventually released in May 2019. Nonetheless, he committed another murder in December 2019. This time, he was arrested and sentenced to death.